Hello and welcome to MomTalk LA. I'm Dr. Nelly, your host, and today's hot topic is Time Magazine cover. What's happening, folks? For those of you who are wondering, this controversy on attachment parenting and what it means to be a good enough mom, we thought that would be appropriate for MomTalk LA to discuss. And with us today, we will have Corky Harvey from the Pumpstation and Nurtury, who has committed her life to educating and nurturing parents about breastfeeding. So that interview will be coming up. But right now, let's have a brief summary of this topic and watch what CNN has to say about this, the cover of the magazine, Time Magazine. Are you mom enough?
This, the cover of Time Magazine. That's 26-year-old mom Jamie Lynn Grumet with her 3-year-old son. Now, the cover story looks at 20 years since Dr. William Sears wrote The Baby Book. It lays out his attachment parenting theory. Now, attachment parenting includes breastfeeding, sometimes into toddlerhood, sleeping with a baby in the mother's bed, baby wearing, which means literally attaching a baby to the mother. You may have seen people with slings, and not allowing an infant to cry. Out front tonight is Jamie Lynn Grumet. Her son, Aram, of course, was on the cover. And Time Magazine, Jeffrey Kluger, is also with us as well, the editor of the story. Great to have both of you with us.
Thank you.
And Jamie, let me just start with you. I don't know, when you made the decision to do this, did you know you were going to be in the cover, or did all of a sudden you wake up and say, whoa?
No, I mean, I definitely, Time contacted me, and it was basically going to be possibly just for the article heading and not for the cover story. So I didn't know basically until the day before. And I didn't know the photo until everybody else saw it for the first time, too. So I didn't know which one was going to be selected.
So are you happy, not sure? Angry? How do you feel?
I know. I'm definitely. I understand why Time chose the photo that they did, but I have seen a lot of backlash in breastfeeding advocates saying it doesn't represent how real extended breastfeeding is really perceived, and it's true. I mean, that's not how we breastfeed at home. But
is he really breastfeeding in the picture?
Yes, he's really breastfeeding in the picture. But I think they just wanted to try out some artistic poses and give kind of just a really literal and artistic view of extended breastfeeding, obviously to start, to make it controversial and start a dialogue, which I think they did.
I mean, you're an editor. You want controversy.
Right.
You got it.
We got controversy. But I think it's important to remember, as Jamie mentions, that the point of generating controversy is so that people will read the story and so that people will talk about the story.
Yes.
Attachment parenting can be very controversial. It does have issues associated with it. There are parents who say this is simply not what I am temperamentally equipped to do. It's not what my job will permit me to do. Does this somehow make me a deficient parent? Other parents who are committed to it say this is exhausting, and a whole third group say this is the greatest thing I ever could have imagined for my child. We want to present those sides, and the only way to get that to get people to do that is get them to read the story, which was written by one of our writers, Kate Pickert, who did an exhaustive look into this and really got down into what the pros and cons of all of it are.
So as you see, the pros and cons of attachment parenting is the hot topic in today's media. I like to also show another clip. This was discussed on The View of Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg from, of course, a different generation, talking about their feelings in regards to attachment parenting and their reactions to this image.
The Time Magazine cover story that just hit stands takes a look at the reemergence of attachment parenting, where parents are consistently with their children every day and night rather than
that little black
raising
mark they put over her boob.
them
That boy
to
is
be
like 32
more
years old.
self-sufficient and independent. This is insane.
I mean, she's got her boob in his mouth.
Let's talk about some of this, because it's not just breastfeedings. Because not everybody, I wrote some notes. The American Academy of Pediatrics says, in terms of breastfeeding, that the frequency and duration are for the mother and baby to determine. But it also says that if your kid cries, you should go right away. And I remember saying to you, let them cry. Remember
You did tell me to let Jeffrey cry. Oh, it broke my heart. 4 days, though, it took for him to stay in his bed.
They say parents should respond to all cries immediately, because all of us work, and I don't know, I feel very guilty, because I did work. But some of the things that they suggest, I had a stroller. Before that, what do you call it? A perambulator? Whatever that was at those days?
Yeah.
A pram. Yeah. They say, when you go out, carry the baby here, so that the baby can feel the heartbeat. Yes. I mean, there are still things...
But that's good up until a certain age. Then you get scoliosis.
Oh, no, that's true. But I'm just talking about women who work are going to read this and feel very guilty.
Remember when do not feel guilty. We don't feel guilty. We're leaving.
Welcome back to Mom Talk LA. I'm Dr. Nelly, your host, and today's topic is the Time magazine cover, Are You Mom Enough?, which has brought up controversy in the media as well as amongst mothers groups on the topic of attachment parenting. With us today we have Corky Harvey, nurse and lactation consultant and co-founder of the Pumpstation and Nurtury. Hardly anyone who lives in LA or this part of the town is unfamiliar with the Pumpstation. I know for me it was a wonderful resource, a place where I received great education, support, and I was empowered to start and get into this wonderful falling in love relationship through breastfeeding and so forth. So Corky, welcome to the program.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you your first reaction when you saw this image on the cover of the Time magazine. What was your first reaction?
Well, my knee-jerk was a bit of anger, I would suspect, just because I felt like, oh my God, here we go again, after all the years of hard work that people have put in to encouraging moms in their breastfeeding, to now have this sensationalism put before us again, which is really not our cultural norm at all. Plus, we don't nurse our babies standing on stools in front of us. It's not a very cuddly approach. But on my second look, sort of, maybe this opens up opportunity for more discussion, and maybe will move us forward in the end. But my first reaction was, oh God, again. Here we go, because we've worked so hard to try to help women be successful, and I was afraid it would be a dashing again of breastfeeding. Well, the article is not really about breastfeeding, and that's what I suspected it would be. It was really on attachment parenting, and again, I think it was a very sensational article that talked about attachment in a way that is not at all what we see or what we teach. Or even, I know Dr. Sears personally, and I've read almost all his work, and it's not really the way he feels either. It was almost like, if you don't do this, you're not a good parent. Mm-hmm. And it made it seem like if you don't stay home and homeschool and never leave your child, that you're not attachment parenting. But that's just not the case at all. I mean, attachment parenting really, in simple terms, is responding to your baby. And it doesn't mean you never are separated from your baby, or you never go back to work, or never go out for a social evening at all. At least that's not how we see it. But so that was what the article really was about. Was really I felt kind of a negative on attachment, and attachment is such an important biologic necessity to the human. If we don't have that piece, we don't develop normally, and that's been demonstrated through excellent research since the 60s. So we have that information, but I think the article is like when and how long, and it made it seem like these extreme cases are what we're wanting everybody to do, and that's not the case at all.
Okay, so to parents like Barbara Walters and Whoopi who are against attachment parenting, what would you say to those parents?
Could you say that again? What Barbara Walters is against attachment parenting?
Well, I mean, watching the View and how they went back and forth and expressed their reactions and how they feel about attachment parenting. They were mocking attachment parenting, and
the article mocked attachment parenting too. And I think, to me, attachment parenting, it has this name, but it's the way my mother parented me. It's the basis of loving your child and taking care of your child and meeting their needs. And my mom had to go back to work, and we went to school, and we weren't homeschooled. My mother just loved us and took care of us. And if we cried, she picked us up, kissed us, and loved us. So I think attachment parenting is not different than parents have parented since the beginning of time. And if you look back and culturally, every single culture wore their babies. And a mother had 10 kids, had to plant her garden, had to gather the firewood and the water. So she tied her baby on her body and did her chores and did her work. And no one worried, oh my God, she's wearing this baby too much and he won't ever go and be the warrior or the chief. And there was no concerns about those things. So we're kind of gone back to that where a mom can have two free hands and keep her baby on her. So I don't understand how anybody could say they don't believe in attachment parenting, because it's a biologic necessity for normal mental health and good brain growth. If you look at the studies from the Romanian infant studies, where children didn't even survive if they weren't touched, and those who did survive were profoundly affected and had major deficits. Now that's talking about extreme deprivation, but I think this article talks about extreme attachment, and I don't believe that's what people really do in our culture. Okay. Even those of us who are, I teach attachment, but I just talk about how to make life as a parent work while you have this baby who really needs to be touched and held a great deal of the time. And what the evidence shows is that the more we do meet those young babies' needs, the more independent they become. So I realize Barbara Walters is an incredibly famous woman, and maybe she thinks from the way she had to parent because of her own work schedule, but the documented research is there to demonstrate that attachment is critically important. It's just different temperaments for different babies, and we are not all the same. And so some of those moms, one of the ones in the article where she thought she'd do 6 months, and then she ended up feeling, well, she'd go a year, and then, boy, it didn't seem right to wean him at a year. He really seemed to need what she had, and so she went 18 months. And it just can go out that way. Nobody has to decide at the onset of breastfeeding how long they're going to breastfeed. They can just let it play out and see what their baby seems to need and how much they enjoy it and whether it seems like a good thing for them. Nobody's being asked to do what this woman on the front of the magazine is doing. Yeah. So it really got a whole lot of reaction that's unnecessary. I don't know if you're aware that this last Monday someone was at LACMA, the LA County Museum, and was asked to stop breastfeeding, and I believe her baby was 18 months. Wow. And some woman complained, and so someone told her she couldn't breastfeed there. Of course, it's against the law to do that. In California, it's the law that you can breastfeed anywhere you like. So that was kind of an interesting thing to happen in the same week as this Time magazine article as well.
Well, Corky, Harvey, thank you so much for how you've contributed to the field and your hard work and inspiring me and moms that I know all around the world. And thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Dr. Nelly, and thank you for asking me. Sharing my passion and helping women is just what I've loved to do. So thank you for asking.
Okay. Thank you.